You're an advocate for renewable energy within the government, but what have you done in your own house?
Actually, renewable energy and energy efficiency kind of becomes your lifestyle when you get into it. It's a very addictive thing, basically. The other day, I had a dream that I was having a fight with my wife because she didn't turn off the lights in the room that she was not in. So it kind of, when it gets into your subconscious, there is no turning back. It's a lifestyle. And I changed all my light bulbs to LED at my home. I consume about 20 times less electricity to light my home, and it's going to last me for more than 10 years. And I did the same for my parents' home to just prove my father that it works, and after 2 weeks of monitoring, it does. You know, it's a fact. Energy efficiency works.
Great, thank you very much. And you're also here on behalf of the government. And you heard in Diana's speech, she was talking about measures that the European Union are taking to cut their carbon emissions. In a country not so very far away from here, in the news last week, it was reported that Jordan's Minister of Energy has agreed to cut Jordan's, the target is Jordan will have 20% of its energy from renewable sources by 2020, and all 6,000 mosques will have solar panels. What's Armenia doing?
Actually, Armenia is already 30%, more than 30% from our hydro sources, so we're kind of ahead of the curve here. But we don't want to say any targets, to be honest. For me, a target below 100% is not acceptable. European Union and all these countries, you know, declare targets, and this may seem very brave, but these are targets that are very easily achievable. If you just look at how the technology is developing, just look at the transport sector. We have more hybrid cars on the road, we have more electric cars on the road. You can now buy an electric car from $10,000 to $200,000 worth. So, and these technologies are getting more and more widespread, and this is independent from what the government will do. So the government is very safe when saying they will cut the reductions. We are closely monitoring on how we can reach that 100%. Armenia does not have a choice than to go renewable. It's not like we have fossil fuels, it's not like we've got gas or oil. You know, all we have is sun, wind, and water, and maybe some geothermal and biogas. So we've almost used up our hydro potential. In the past decade, we've built more than about 170 small hydro power plants, and they give this already more than 10%, only the small hydro, 10% of all electricity generation. This is a very remarkable figure. Although we do have challenges in this sector, but these challenges can be overcome. These are technological challenges that, you know, with the right management, everything will be achievable in this sector. As for solar, solar is a different story. Solar is becoming commercially viable as we speak. For the first time in history, in December, 5.9 cents was the bid for 1 kilowatt. This may not this may not seem a lot for you because, you know, you are not thinking about this all day as I do, but I'm just going to tell you that it's competitive with natural gas, it's competitive with nuclear, it's competitive with traditional energy sources, which means that for the first time in history, this coming years, we will be able to get competitive renewable energy generation from solar. And this is great news for Armenia. This is great news because our solar resource is about 80% more than the European average, and we have a lot of, although our agriculture is a big part of our GDP, we do have a lot of land that we don't use, especially in the high up in the mountains. So we can cover these lands with solar panels and have very clean and good energy. And we are following very closely on all of these issues, and it is our job to provide cheap, affordable energy to our populace. And if we are reckless with allowing any technology to go and be connected with the grid, the prices of end the prices for the end user, the citizen, will increase. And we want to avoid it at any cost. Although in the past years, as you can see, we've not been doing such a good job in that aspect, but there are many objective reasons for that. We import our energy. We import overall more than 90% of it. So if the gas prices go up, we have to increase our utilities prices. If the prices on uranium goes up, again, so you have to, everybody has to understand one simple thing. If we want to be truly independent, if we want to understand what kind of prices we will have in the future and predict it, we have to go renewable. When there is a power plant built on renewable, he promises that he will give you electricity for a fixed price for 20 years. When you have a power plant on gas, he cannot promise anything. It can be raised every year depending on the import price. So the key to sustainable development is renewable energy.
So you raised finance a couple of times there. When you're an investor and you're looking to invest your money, you weigh the risk, potential risk against the return that you might get. So are renewable energies really a smart capital investment?
Let me divide that question into two parts. First, for us as citizens, renewable energy is a smart investment. It depends on two factors, actually. The utility prices, because when you're investing in solar panel on your roof or solar water heater, you are calculating the payback. Basically, I'm using $20 for gas every month. If I put a solar water heater, I'm going to save 70–80%, and the payback is usually from 3 to 5 years. So solar water heaters is the technology for Armenia. It has proven itself for many years already, and it is a cheap technology. So this must be applied universally throughout Armenia. So photovoltaic, which produces electricity, this needs a little more calculation. Depends where you live, how much rooftop you have, but it does pay back as well. If you calculate only with the current utility prices, the payback may be around 10 years. But you have to bear in mind that utility prices may go up in the future. And if you want to secure yourself from any fluctuations in the future, for any disturbances of supply, you have to go renewable. You have to install the solar panel. And there are financial sources for that. The banks now give very good conditions when you want to go renewable, when you want to go green. Now, when we're talking about big, basically on an investor level, on a private sector level, it depends on the tariff. Basically, our law has this clause which basically provides a power purchase agreement. In more simple terms, the country has to buy all the electricity from a power plant with the price they agree beforehand. So basically, if there is an investor coming to Armenia wanting to build a solar power plant, we have to buy all the electricity they produce for at least 20 years. And the price that we are able to give it, some call it feed-in tariff, some call it off-take tariff, it depends on the availability of the resource, which is the sun, the availability of finance, basically the interest rate on the credit, and also how much the country is actually willing to pay, in a way that if our end user, which is the price for our customer tariff, is not high, we cannot afford to give the investor higher tariff. We have to give him a tariff that will not raise the average cost of energy, and we should aim at driving the cost down. And I think for the first time, I think even Nostradamus could not have expected such developments. I mean, only in the last 4 years, then this is official figure, 80% price drop in solar PV photovoltaic technology. This is amazing. Nobody could have dreamed about this. And the price drop is continuing. And the efficiency is going up. And people the skeptics of renewables are facing the fact that they cannot deny that this is a revolution. This is a revolution in energy, and it's happening right now. And it's happening here in Armenia as we speak. The government has specific and concrete plans on how to have this first solar big photovoltaic station in 2017. And we are being very careful here. We don't want to rush into experiments. You know, we are thinking every part of it very carefully because, again, we don't want a negative effect on the final customer price.
I have to ask you this next question. As the government, you get income taxes on what the consumer spends. So now, as the government, you're advocating that the consumer spends less, which means that you're going to get less taxes. How is that possible?
We will get less taxes, actually. That's true. I mean, the first taxpayer of in Armenia is the gas company that we have, you know, the Gazprom. And, you know, if you take in the first 10, you know, we have energy producing companies there as well. And it is true that we might face some short-term challenges. But as a government, first, our job is to think about the citizen and to think about them having a good quality life. And in order for them to have good quality life, they need to spend less on utility bills and spend more on things like education and good food. And we have to tell them how to do that. We have to tell them that it is our also motivation to do that. We have to lead by example as well. We have now a huge project in the government that on energy efficiency on our buildings, on government-funded buildings, on schools, on hospitals, on administration buildings. And this project is going very well. Everywhere we conduct energy efficiency measures, the efficiency is minimum 50%. This is remarkable, really, and the efficiency pays back. Second is, you know how we all love pork leg in Armenian khozibud? You have no idea how much this affects our energy system. I'm serious. I mean, the highest consumption that we had of electricity since independence was last year, 2013, 7 p.m., December 31st. 1,521 megawatt. This may not, tell you something, but if I tell that the average, seasonal average, the maximum is about 1,090, it was the most, in 2013, and that one day, for a few hours, we have 1,521. I'm actually glad that this year we had at 7 o'clock, I checked, December 31st, we had 1,299, and I even wrote on my Facebook page that the Ministry of Energy encourages you to cook your pork leg in advance, and I hope that worked actually. So basically, well, for you to understand what it means for us is we have to have capacity to provide you electricity whenever you need it. The government cannot say, if you turn on the light, we cannot say, you know what, we overburdened, there is not enough capacity. We have to have that capacity. And having for 2013, it was 500 megawatt extra capacity in the grid means one huge power plant. Our nuclear power plant provides 360 megawatt right now. Its capacity is a little more, but in practice it provides 360 megawatt. So almost 2 nuclear power plants to just assure that we cook our khozibud on December 31st. So this actually shows that our behavior affects the energy system. If we adopt, if we consume less, we don't have to create and build new power stations. Building a power station is very expensive. People don't realize that the investments have to be paid back. Okay, we have a nuclear power plant, and it is uh, really wonderful, but the capital expenditures have been paid back in the Soviet times already, and now we are very lucky that we have that cheap source of energy, and we have to cherish it. When we build a nuclear power plant, and we will, and I really hope we do, it's the price of that kilowatt will not be the same as the current one, because we have to attract investment. And for you to understand how much it is, it's about 6 billion. It's going to cost us about $6 billion US. This is about 60% of our old GDP. So one thing everybody should understand is that this light is a gift. About 2 billion people around the world don't have access to this light, and we waste it. And this should not be considered as a given. This should be considered as an achievement, a sign of civilization, and it should not be wasted at all. And for us, in order to provide cheaper and affordable energy to our population, and it is, I assure you, the most important task of our ministry, because we want every one of you to consume electricity. We want the economy to grow, but we want for you to do so in a responsible manner and consume how much you need it, not waste it.
Okay, thank you very much. And then my last question, which feeds in very nicely from that. If you were to give a couple of recommendations to the people sitting in the audience today, what would they be?
First thing I did, just going to tell you, when I assumed this position in the government, I started Googling what are the simple measures that I could take without any investments on how to cut energy spending. And the first measure that pops up everywhere is organization. Please have a look at your consumption on a daily basis. If you monitor your consumption for 1 month, there are calculations that you will be reducing your consumption from 15 to 40%. It is amazing how much energy we're wasting. Second, change your bulbs to energy efficient, more importantly, LED bulbs. These consume at least 20 times less energy, and you do it once, you don't have to worry about it for 10 years. Third, think about where else you could save. Maybe put thermometers in your rooms and try to manage the spending. Basically, in daytime when there is sun, you don't need to have the same level of heat. At nighttime, you can put down, because when you're sleeping under the blanket, it actually helps you sleep better if it's a little colder. So manage your consumption. There are many more advices on what technologies you can use, but these require a little bit of investment, and when you start understanding your consumption, you will also start thinking about other ways to save. It's a fun thing to do. When you're saving, it's like money in your pocket, and you're like, I cheated the system. I'm not paying you more than I should do. So it's a fun thing to do. It's fun exercise. I may sound a little geeky here, but it's actually fun after a while.
So there you go, geeky wise words from the Deputy Minister of Energy. Hayk Harutyunyan, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you very much.